Yeah, what's up, kings and queens? We're back again, still on the same track, deep dive with AI. Today we're looking at the evidence of Vusimuzi Mogane, Sergeant Vusimuzi Mogane. Wow, man, this is something else. The guy is very unreliable. I just want to tell you, yes, just from the onset. He tried to tell us that there was some non-Goma things on Sibia. And then when the non-Goma thing was followed, he found out that no, there was nobody. In fact, Sibia was not there. It was somebody else who was arrested for that. Sibia was not involved in that. And then when it comes to Ntanzi, problems again, major problems. Here we're going to focus mainly on his problems that he came across, that he presented himself during his evidence in chief, his cross-examination. And after the AVL was presented, he was cross-examined again. It was just still big problems for Mogane. Mogane was just giving us problems because his evidence doesn't make sense, in a sense that he's the arresting officer, right? That's what they claim. But they didn't follow what the eyewitnesses were saying. People in the house told them, in fact, they gave out descriptions that were put on paper as identities, right? And then we thought when they were walking around looking for suspects, they should have had those identities with them and look at them to see if these guys look the same. And considering also the descriptions that were mentioned in those identities. The dreadlocks, both had dreadlocks, both had gold teeth. But now, you understand that they probably thought Ntanzi had some dreadlocks before. They probably thought he had some gold teeth. That's why they took him to the dentist. Anyway, guys, let's continue. But before we go to our deep dive with AI, I just want you to recap our memories, and we play a little bit of Advocate Mr. Mgomezulu, when he was cross-examining Mogane. Let's hear what goes on here.
There was a garage, there was a petrol station or a filling station. That is consistent with the version of accused number 2. Do you agree?
That is correct. There is an engine garage where we were.
From that time up to the time when I was about to take you on when you were leaving, but up to 0023, there's only thing that you are disputing is that accused number 2 was not assaulted by the police. That's the only thing that you can dispute now. Do you agree?
I disagree that the accused was assaulted.
Now, Sergeant Mogane also told the court that on their way from Carltonville, they went to that garage or petrol station because they were experiencing car trouble. He says after they had called Brigadier Bongani Geninda had instructed a police officer and a previous witness, Wendell Jonathan, and other officers to go to that garage and provide an escort. Let's take a listen to what his explanation was of why they were at that garage.
When I alighted the vehicle and looked around the vehicle, there was some smoke that was coming from the front brakes. And on the dashboard, it reflected an oil light. And indeed, Jonathan and his crew arrived as we could not be at the garage on our own without any backup, as we were in a company of an accused person.
But Advocate Tulani Mngomezulu says what the sergeant is basically telling the court in that, he says, is a basic fabrication of stories. Let's take a listen.
I can tell you now, you are making this story for yourself. Let me just put your version, your testimony actually. Your testimony, Buthelez's testimony, Jonathan's testimony. All of you, you denied that you have ever been next to an engine garage. They all denied having escorted you from engine garage, but they only escorted you to Moroka police station. This is just a total fabrication of what you're saying.
If I remember very well. You only asked me about when we were going to Moroka police station. This day that you are referring to, it is my first time that I am testifying on today.
Right, and then the current witness on the stand you heard there, Sergeant Vusimuzi Mogane, also accusing the defense towards the end of proceedings today of changing its version. Let's take a listen.
Mr. Mngomezulu, I do not understand now, as you are now confusing me. As in the morning you had said we had met Colonel Rapadu and his wife took the keys, and now you are referring to us meeting Colonel Rapadu in the afternoon. Is it changing now?
Well, Bongiwe, cross-examination continues, and we're continuing to expect a sharp focus on Sergeant Vusimuzi Mogane's car movements.
And it's going to be interesting to see then what gets said about some of the critical moments that have been, mentioned throughout the course of the day on his movements. But Griselda, always a pleasure to have you as you wrap the day's stories for us that have come out from that particular trial, because I tell you every day it's twists, it's turns, and we are seeing new evidence emerging. Griselda will be back.
Yeah, guys, let's continue. Let's go on with our work, the usual work, deep dive with AI. You heard there, Mogane, just lying, just straight up lying. Engine oil light came on, the brakes. How do those things happen concurrently? The brakes are smelling, and then the engine light's coming on. Like, you can hear that he doesn't even understand the problems of a car just by that explanation. Because you would think he would say the engine light's coming on, and then when I checked the oil was not enough or something like that. But he's talking about the engine light and brakes together. Come on. Anyway, guys, now let's check about what AI told us about this guy, Mogane. Sergeant Vusimuzi Mogane, an arresting officer from the National Cold Case Unit, which is very questionable also, this cold case unit, because it seems like they are the only members. We don't hear of any other members being of the cold case unit. And this was not the cold case because it was still going on. It was not closed. The cold case unit member provided critical testimony in the Vusimuzi trial matter trial regarding the arrest and confession of Moses Sibia and Bungani Ntanzi. His evidence focused on a controversial 17-hour trip with Ntanzi, the discovery of a hoodie at Ntanzi's home, dental examination intended to link him to suspect descriptions. Analysis of his testimony revealed significant contradiction. He initially claims his vehicle was in good condition to explain speeding, but later cited mechanical problems to explain frequent stops revealed by the vehicle tracking AVL data. He omitted the stop at the petrol station, engine garage, where Ntanzi alleges he was tortured, only admitting it when confronted with tracking evidence. Now, his claim that the officers were present at these stops was denied by those colleagues. Jonathan said he only met him at Morocco, as we heard there on the video. You heard when we were talking about Jonathan yesterday. Furthermore, while the SAPS identities provided in the images described the suspect with gold teeth, O-shaped beards, medical reports, and photographic evidence later proved Ntanzi had neither, undermining the identification process led by Mogane. Executive summary. Testimony of Sergeant Vusimuzi Mogane. He served as a pivotal witness in the Senzo Mewa trial, primarily concerning the movement and handling of the accused following the arrest. His testimony focused on the logistics of transporting Muzi Sibia and Bongani Ntanzi across various locations in Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal. The evidence provided by Sergeant Vusimuzi Mogane is frequently contrasted against AVL data, automatic vehicle location, and physical descriptions found in early SAPS identity kits. These comparisons are central to the trial within a trial aimed at determining the admissibility of the confession statements. Deep analysis, identity kits, and physical evidence. The provided SAPS identity kits highlight specific physical markers that Sergeant Vusimuzi Mogane was questioned on during cross-examination. The first image depicts a suspect with dreadlocks, a 1.68 meter height, and gold in upper teeth. The second image illustrates a suspect wearing a black hooded top, also featuring gold in upper teeth and dreadlocks. This correlates directly with the hoodie evidence and gold teeth patterns mentioned in the testimony transcript. The defense had used these specific visual markers to challenge whether the accused actually matched the descriptions provided by the witness at crime scene in photographs. Analysis of AVL data and chronological contradictions. The most significant lies or contradictions alleged by the defense involved the AVL data from Sergeant Vusimuzi Mogane's police vehicle. While Mogane testified to a continuous journey, the AVL data revealed the vehicle was stationary for several hours at various locations, including Alberton and a petrol station. No, that's not. This petrol station is in Alberton and in Orlando. Okay, that's included in Orlando in those stops. There's a dumping site. Now, Sergeant Vusimuzi Mogane initially struggled to provide a detailed account for these time gaps. The defense suggested that these unaccounted periods were not for rest or admin, but were instead used to exert pressure or physical force on the suspect to secure confessions. Let's look now at the key contradictions and evidence gaps. Stationary time. Mogane claimed the team was moving, but the AVL data showed the vehicle stopped for over 4 hours near Alberton. This he tried to explain as they were testing brakes, they were trying to see if he can move, but for 4 hours around the same area and with the bush mechanic, somebody who's not authorized. Unless that guy was willing to just work on the car and not get paid. Gold teeth discrepancy. The SAPS identity kits explicitly list gold in upper teeth for both suspects. However, the defense pointed out that the accused did not possess these features at the time of the arrest. The hoodie narrative. While the black hooded top is a crucial key term in the SAPS description, the recovery of such clothing from the accused dwellings years after October 2014 remains a point of intense legal debate. Logbook versus AVL. Discrepancies exist between the manual entries made by Sergeant Vusimuzi Mogane in the vehicle logbooks and the automated GPS pings from the AVL system. At the bottom there is the sources. That's where you can check out these stories. That's where I clicked one of that video we were watching. Now, the challenge of eyewitness description in arrest. In the Senzo Mewa murder trial, a significant portion a point of contention involves the arrest of suspects whose physical appearance allegedly did not match the initial SAPS police services witness statements. Defense counsel has frequently highlighted the early descriptions mentioning a suspect with gold teeth and a specific hoodie, features that the accused, including Bongani Ntanzi, reportedly did not possess at the time of the incident in October 2014. When officers arrest individuals based on intelligence rather than specific physical markers provided by eyewitnesses, it creates a foundational gap in the prosecution's case. This allows the defense to argue that the police were fitting suspect to a crime rather than following the evidence provided by those present at the Vusimuzi crime scene. Now, the Phokeng route, Mogane versus Mogola. A critical contradiction emerged regarding let me just set this before this bothered me. Sorry, I just was bothered by something there. A critical contradiction emerged. Set default. Yeah, let's do it. A critical contradiction emerged regarding the movements of the police on the day Bongani Ntanzi was apprehended in Rustenburg. Sergeant Vusimuzi Mogane testified that the team proceeded directly to Ntanzi's place of residence before going to Phokeng police station. This sequence is vital for establishing the chain of custody and the legality of the initial detention. However, this version was directly contradicted by Sergeant Mogola, who testified that the police vehicle first stopped at the Phokeng police station to report in before heading to the suspect's residence. And this was supported by the AVL report, which I want to point out. When Baloyi was cross-examining Mogola, in fact, Mogane, on that route to Phokeng police station, I don't know, he did something. I did a video on that. He did something there. He skipped mentioning that Phokeng police station. I don't know, maybe he was just trying to fit Mogane's evidence to the AVL, thinking that the defense will never pick it out. But advocate, the one who's always sitting, Advocate Munyeki, the one who's always sitting for Mshololo, he quizzed him on that. And then it was found out that Mogane is not reliable in this instance. Now, however, this version was directly contradicted by Sergeant Mogola, who testified that they stopped first at Phokeng police station to report in. Now, such discrepancies in testimony regarding geographical movements often suggest a lack of synchronization in the official narrative, providing the defense with grounds to challenge the credibility of the arresting officers. I mean, they're out there for the taking. They place themselves in that position. AVL data and allegations of torture. The automatic vehicle location AVL data, often referred to as the silent witness, has played a pivotal role in exposing these contradictions. While Mogane maintained a narrative of standard procedure, the AVL records showed the police vehicle stopped for extended periods at locations not mentioned in the official police logs. These AVL stops align more closely with the testimony of Bongani Ntanzi, who claimed he was taken to various secluded stops and subjected to tubing. And to elicit a confession, the data showed the vehicle stationary in areas like R558, I think near the hospital. They are wrong here. This is near the hospital where they had went to pick up that convention guy. And then around Alberton at the garage, which support the defense theory that suspects were not taken directly to a station but were instead diverted for unauthorized interrogation. Now, you have to keep in mind that before all of this, Mogane he didn't even mention this Engen garage stop, right? And Ntanzi had already mentioned that where they were at. I even made a video on that, sort of an aerial view of the area using Google Maps, and street view to show that the chairs that Ntanzi and tables of concrete that Ntanzi was talking about, where people could eat and sit outside, sit and eat outside the garage, they were there. You could see them. Before he was shown them via my pictures of Google Street View, or before the AVL was even pronounced in court. He spoke about that and it came out to be true. So who do you trust in this? Then I went on to converse with AVL, and then I'll read this first part and then I'll let AI read the last part, and then I'll correct where I hear it's saying something wrong. Determining whether Sergeant Vusimuzi Mogane's evidence is reliable requires weighing his testimony against forensic AVL data and the conflicting accounts of his colleagues. The defense has argued that his testimony is fundamentally flawed due to material contradictions that suggest the fabrication of the events surrounding the arrest of Bongani Ntanzi in June 2020. Even in the case of Sibiya, like the arrest is just it's flawed. It's flawed. Let me just play it to hear if it. I think it will start somewhere where I started. Let's go. Yeah, I'm waiting for AI to read this for you. We'll take it from there. We'll close it up. Still loading. Still loading. Patience. So thank you for those who were in the live, who checked this out, and those who are gonna check it out later. Thank you. I think the views are rising, and thank you for that. And thank you for those who subscribed. I'm seeing the subscription rate is going up. Thank you for those who are supporting the continued supporters, the hardcore avid supporters of Kings and Queens. I thank you for that. This thing is taking way too long. I don't know what's going on. Let me just check it out. Come on, bro. You know what? I think I'm gonna do it myself. It's taking way too long. If it starts, I'm going to stop it. Okay, let me just continue with it. I'll stop it when it...
Determining whether Sergeant Vusimuzi Mogane's evidence is reliable requires weighing his testimony against forensic AVL data and the conflicting accounts of his colleagues. The defense has argued that his testimony is fundamentally flawed due to material contradictions that suggest a fabrication of the events surrounding the arrest of Bongani Ntanzi in June 2020. 1. The Phokeng contradiction and logistical flaws. The primary blow to Mogane's reliability stems from the Phokeng sequence. Mogane testified that after arriving in Rustenburg, the team went directly to Ntanzi's residence to effect the arrest before visiting a police station. 2. Conversely, Sergeant Mogola testified that they stopped at Phokeng police station first to report their presence in the area, a standard operating procedure. 3. When the automatic vehicle location, AVL data, was introduced, it failed to support Mogane's timeline of a direct
Determining
route.
whether
The data
Sergeant
indicated the
Vusimuzi
vehicle was
Mogane's
stationary
evidence is
at various
reliable
points that
requires
Mogane
weighing
could
his-
not account for, leading the defense to claim he was concealing the detour used for the alleged torture of the suspect. 4. Discrepancies in physical evidence and descriptions. Mogane's reliability is further questioned regarding the initial suspect descriptions. The October 2014 witness statements from the Mewia household described a perpetrator with gold teeth and a specific hoodie. 5. Mogane admitted under cross-examination that Ntanzi did not have gold teeth at the time of his arrest, nor did he fit the height profile initially provided by some witnesses. 6. By arresting a suspect who did not match the identikit features provided by eyewitnesses, Mogane relied entirely on intelligence-led information, which he refused to disclose in detail. This lack of transparency, coupled with the physical mismatch, has been characterized by the defense as a targeted framing rather than an evidence-based arrest. 7. The impact of AVL's silent witness data. The most significant evidence against Mogane's reliability is the 12-hour gap in the detailed movement of the police vehicle. Mogane claimed the suspect was transported directly to Pretoria, but AVL records showed the vehicle remained stationary for hours near the Vusimuzi hostel and the R558 road. 8. Because Mogane could not provide a credible explanation for these long stops, which align perfectly with Nontanzi allegations of being tubed and assaulted, legal analysts suggest his totality of evidence is highly compromised. 9. In a court of law, when a witness's oral testimony is contradicted by objective digital forensics, AVL, the oral testimony is often deemed legally unreliable. 10. Sources and verification. 1. Trial report. Defense summary of material contradictions in Mogane's testimony. SABC News. 2. Court transcript. Mogane's testimony regarding the direct route to Nontanzi's house. Judiciary of South Africa. 3. Cross-examination. Sergeant Mogala's conflicting account of the Phokeng stop. News 24. 4. Forensic analysis. AVL data discrepancies regarding stationary periods in Rustenburg. Times Live. 5. Case file. Original 2014 witness descriptions of the gold teeth suspect. IOL News. 6. Court proceedings. Mogane's admission regarding Nontanzi's physical appearance. YouTube SABC Digital. 7. Defense argument. Advocate Tabane's assertion of targeted framing. ENCA. 8. Digital forensics. Detailed breakdown of the R558 and Vusimuzi hostile AVL pings. Daily Maverick. 9. Legal analysis. Assessing the credibility of the confession versus torture allegations. The South African. 10. Judgment insight. The weight of objective GPS data over police testimony in South African law. SAFLI.
Yeah, I think we're done with that. Now, let's just do a quick summary on whatever happened with Mogane. You can tell that Mogane is not a reliable witness. He's shady, he's cagey, he doesn't hesitate to whip up something from the air and tell you that thing just to like escape a corner that is being put in. He won't hesitate to lie to you at the, in a moment, in a flash, he will lie to you. That's what we've seen here. Anyway, guys, I don't want to take too much of your time. We'll continue with the series. Tomorrow we'll be concentrating on the evidence of, let me just check. It's another officer. There was 1,000 officers here testifying. It seems like people were asking, was it a corpse? Is this a corpse case, murder case where so many cops are testifying? It was a problem. Tomorrow we will be concentrating on that evidence of Sergeant Mogala. We deep dive with that. We find some videos on her. She also has some problems with the evidence. We'll find out when we get to that. But before we go, please like the live, comment, interact, and also share it if you can. Subscribe if you don't subscribe. I would like to see the subscription go up. And then from there, hit that notification bell so that you get notified